You're listening to Keystone Cold Cases, a podcast where we reignite cold cases across Pennsylvania.
Hey, it's Melissa.
Hey, it's Shannon.
Hey, it's Chelsea, and today we're going to cover a case, and this is actually about a John Doe case. I feel like we talk more about Jane Doe cases than we do John Does, even though I did read a statistic that there are more John Does than there usually are Jane Does.
Really?
Which kind of blew my mind. Yeah, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I always think it's the other way around.
Yeah. I feel like we hear about more Jane Does.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. In the U.S. legal system, they use the placeholder names John Doe and Jane Doe for unknown remains, and I really wanted to try to figure out or pinpoint, why they use that. And a lot of people think that this phrase comes from English history. They would use this term for the common law in the 1300s, and I guess it just kind of stuck along the way, and we've just been using it. And according to the Bureau of Justice Assistance, it is estimated that 4,400 unidentified remains are discovered each year in the U.S., which is a staggering amount.
That makes me so bummed. Just the thought of someone being buried without their name, that's your freaking identity.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate
exactly.
that.
Also, I found on that website, at any given moment, it is estimated that there are 40,000 unidentified remains in the U.S. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking, just like Melissa said. Your name is your identity. Yep. And it also begs the question, how are friends and family not claiming these remains? How are remains going missing for long periods of time without any resolution? So with that, let's get into our story. On November 18th, 2013, there was a tree trimming company working on a job in Shiloh, Pennsylvania. This town is located in West Manchester Township in York County. It is just around about approximately 15-minute ride northwest of York. And this crew was just going about their business on a typical Monday. And this was literally right around the corner from a holiday. So I'm sure they were just, trying to get the day done and over with,
Wow.
all thinking about the holiday, right? But they found a human skull during their work shift. So the crew stopped working and they called the police. And I just really always feel so bad for utility workers because I've come across so many cases where people are just doing their job and they accidentally come across remains, and also people who are going for a run or hikers.
I feel like on Law and Order, it's always someone walking their dog, and then their dog gets off the leash, and they're like, "Hey, Fido, get back here!" And then all of a sudden, there's a body.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it just has to be so traumatizing because the person who finds the body is not really, usually looking to find a body. They just stumble across it, and that's awful.
Yeah. Jarring.
Yes.
So when police responded to the wooded area, it was located near the intersection of Laux Road and Haviland Road. I believe that's how you say it. The body was in a culvert, which kind of hid it from passerbyers. And the next day, investigators and anthropologists returned looking for more bones. They were able to recover more bones and possible evidence. They weren't sure if it was just trash, Right. The next day, investigators and anthropologists returned looking for more bones. They were able to recover more bones and possible evidence, but they were not sure if it was, trash or if it even pertained to their case. In an article in the Sentinel, Chief Deputy Coroner Claude Stabley said, "First of all, it's sad. It's sad that somebody ends up in this situation. It's not a hiking trail or anything like that, so therefore it may have remained there quite some time before it was discovered." According to the team, it could take months, even longer than a year, to discover the identity of the body. And that article was like the only one I could find on newspapers.com, which we typically use to look for like news clippings from papers and stuff like that. And it was so hard because there was no information. I couldn't really search a name. Me searching for like John Doe's just brought up a lot of cases. I mean, you're talking hundreds of pages. And so that was the only one that I was able to find from there. But it seems like the county did like a wonderful job keeping up their website. And there were some other articles. And so we're going to get into that. Most of the information that I pulled for this part is on Crime Watch PA. That's the one that is being kept up. And it states when John Doe was first discovered, the forensic anthropologist estimated that the remains had been in that spot for 3 to 10 years.
Wow.
Which is like a huge, it's a huge gap, right?
Yeah, that's a big jump.
And I feel like 7 years could really make a huge difference on pulling information.
Sure.
And I'm also positive that probably like the elements and animal or insect activity on the remains had an impact on the estimation of that like time frame. So regardless, with that information, the police started looking at missing person reports from 2010 and before to account for that shorter period of time just to make sure they weren't missing anything. And the case was immediately registered as a homicide, but they literally do not give any reason on how they come to that conclusion. I would like take like the assumption that maybe it's because he was kind of like buried or placed somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be found.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe an
don't
erosion or something helped unearth.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really kill yourself and then hide the body, you know?
Right.
Right.
So, but I did read in another article, like, they have more information that they're keeping very tight-lipped until they can, like, move this along.
So maybe there's signs of blunt force trauma or a gunshot and they just don't want to tell us yet.
Yeah,
Right.
It could be. Definitely. They also did not mention the cause of death either.
Oh man, I'm a mind reader.
Yep. The lead investigator said he will not divulge that information since it's an active case. And it has been active. Like, the lead investigator has been pushing it pretty hard, and everyone that, you know, gets interviewed about the case all mention his dedication and drive to try to find the identity. Even though, like, he's even gone on record and said this could be a needle in a haystack, but as long as I'm here, it's going to get worked on, basically, which is great.
Aw, I love, like, officers like that, you know, when they get really, like, hooked on a case and, like, they're dead set on solving it. I love that.
And usually those are the type of people that's needed to get the case solved.
Yes, agreed.
Yes.
In 2015, authorities went back to the site where they found John Doe. They flushed a water pipe at Laux Road and Haviland Road to see if they could find any evidence, but really they only found garbage, nothing of importance that they determined. And then over the years, they had been sending body parts out to different institutions to do testing on. And they officially updated their Crime Watch PA case file in 2021 with like all this updated information, if you will, because it does take time. Obviously, more recent cases get the priority than older cases, and then you have the budgets and all that. So like that all does come into, you know, the time management of older cases. So after John Doe was submitted for more extensive DNA testing, we found a couple things. Originally, they put out that the victim was to be Hispanic or white, but after this testing, they determined that he was actually 75% sub-Saharan African and 7% North Atlantic, which is very different.
That is very different.
Yes. So it like begs to question, like, were a lot of people not coming forward because that's not who they were actually reporting it to be. Because going from like a white male to a black male, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
In looking for, missing people.
Wow.
Yes.
It's amazing
The website,
that DNA can pull that out.
Oh yeah.
Wait until
you find out how much more the testing pulled, because I was absolutely blown away.
Cool.
The website says that after entering his DNA into genealogy websites, they did find distant relatives in North Carolina and surrounding states. And at this point, I feel like, shouldn't they be using, like, a family tree to, like, kind of narrow it down to maybe, like, who this person could be? But again, I'm sure it takes time and resources, and I'm sure that's probably something they will be working on.
I'm sure it's number like 10 millionth in line because there's just so many.
Yeah.
Exactly. After receiving the new information, forensic artist Jenny Kenyon provided a new sketch of the John Doe. There are 2 different sketches, though, that were drafted. Before death, our mysterious man had fractures to his face that had healed prior to his death. So he had been living with, like, a disfiguration, if you will.
Aww.
So the sketches show what he would look like with and without the fractures, in case maybe family hadn't seen him with the fractures, or maybe it was recent before he passed, just to make sure, like, someone would recognize this man. They did the 2.
Wow.
This testing was performed, the testing that they did on the DNA was performed by the University of South Florida under Dr. Aaron Kimmerly. Part of the testing was isotope testing, and isotope analysis has become a valuable asset to cases of unidentified remains. They can use various body tissues to test to predict the possible region of origin, region of birth, travel history, diet, and even more, which is like crazy.
Wow.
And I think that's absolutely amazing.
It's super cool, and it's so cool that science has like brought us to this point.
Exactly. In an article called Recent Applications of Isotope Analysis to Forensic Anthropology, they said that isotope analysis is flexible and powerful geolocation tool that can provide new investigative leads for unidentified human remains, which is like a powerful statement.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I absolutely loved it. I had to share. So, after testing on our specific John Doe, they predicted that he spent his early childhood in the southeastern USA due to a higher content of C4, which is corn maze. For his most recent years, the testing showed that he resided around PA. It wasn't determined to... It could have been PA, but it could also have been like some surrounding states as well. On Crime Watch PA, they have an isotope map as like an attachment to show you where he could have been in like the years before his death and when he was younger. And it's very informative. I think it's so awesome. If you're interested in that, definitely take a look.
That's cool.
So did they say why, like what in the test made them narrow to the PA area for his, for the, other than him being found here, obviously, but like with the isotope testing, did it give the reason
it did
why?
Not specifically, no.
Okay.
I'm sure they know, but
Right.
in the article on the Crime Watch case page, they did not say why they thought he had moved farther north. They also sent his teeth to the University of Arizona to test for like his age range or birth date year. I guess they could determine that. And they used carbon-14 dating and put John Doe's birth year around 1961 to 1964, which kind of does narrow down. Like, I thought there would be a bigger range, but I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that's a smaller range than how long he had been out in the burial location.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's also important to note that due to our John Doe's fracture, he had like a mouth plate. The articles that I read said it was more like rudimentary. So I guess like not 100% official like dental, but it also was dental. So, like, didn't have any serial numbers, but there was a mouth plate. They did find that.
Wow.
So, Sergeant Lance Kraut has been the lead investigator. He joined the York County forensic team in 2006. When talking to the media, he has made it very apparent how frustrating it has been trying to identify the West Manchester John Doe. And for the obvious reasons we talked, like, you know, he's running into issues of time, resources, money. But he also said there's a flip side. He's looking at missing people's cases. So he has to reach out to these families that have missing people to see if it's a connection. And when it's not, it's devastating for those families.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of them have gotten their hopes up how many times?
Right.
Exactly. And to have that emotional burden, because I'm sure it affects him as well on some type of level. So for him, it has definitely been a labor of love. Not always bright sides, a lot of bad sides for him.
Oh.
In an article written in York Dispatch, it says, police said they can't focus on the crime itself until they actually identify John Doe. A quote from Lance Kraut said, "You're not going to find the homicide suspect until you figure out who the victim is." With the new information authorities have gathered, they are extremely hopeful the new sketches will lead to John Doe's identity. They are optimistic someone will recognize this gentleman, though it will be a long road even after his identity is discovered, because then they will have to actually focus on the crime itself.
Right.
So it still brings me back to, this is someone's child. He has to have a family, and he most likely has had friends and acquaintances. Someone has got to know who this man is. And you would think that not having contact for over 10 years would raise red flags. It just has to. Is it possible? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I go back and forth. Like, I think that, yes, you should know if you haven't seen someone in X amount of years, or if you haven't seen your child. But, I mean, people fall into bad crowds, or people fight with, like, maybe this guy had gotten a fight with his mom and stormed out, and she is sitting somewhere thinking that he hates her. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's so many, like, I get what you're saying, but I just feel like there's so many exceptions, I guess.
And that is a good point. I know Shannon and I were working on a case that a family had brought to us specifically about a missing person, and it had a handful of family members in this group chat with us. Half of them were like, leave him be, doesn't want to be found, he's fine. The other half were like, I just want to physically get that he's okay. Like, just get him in person and say he's okay, and then we can be fine. And it was like, we went back and forth because we were like, well, do you want us to, like, help you, or do you not want us to help you?
Yeah.
It was like a very confusing thing. So I can totally see it. It's just 10 years. I don't know. It's hard.
I mean, maybe his family was abusive and he ran away, and just, something bad happened along the way. Like,
yeah.
Right. Maybe he was orphaned as a child and, aged out of the system and,
I hate thinking that, because, like, everybody should be somebody to somebody.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
The thing that, like, I think the thing that holds me up, or that I think is, like, the problem, is that I think it's the case just hasn't garnered enough attention in the areas it needs to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
If they're, like, totally posting here in Pennsylvania, but he was born in North Carolina and has family in North Carolina, well, does that make sense? Like, shouldn't there be, like, cross, like, media coverage or something?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, what if, like, he just happened to be passing through Pennsylvania? His ultimate, like, goal was to get to Maine, and he got off the bus here and something happened, Like, he might have had absolutely no ties to Pennsylvania. It just worked out that way.
Yeah. And it's frustrating, but Lance Kraut is determined to at least solve John Doe's identity. He gets approval to spend 1 day a month working on the case, which I think is fabulous. He went to a supervisor and basically told him how important it was to him.
I love that.
So,
That's awesome.
yes, it's wonderful. So he does get to have 1 interrupted day a month, and he basically what he does is just grunt work. He looks at missing person cases, and then he'll call respective police departments if he thinks that there is a potential match.
Wow.
And he has slowly been eliminating them, but he still has a full binder of cases to reference, which is just really sad. And there is, I'm sure you always find cases on Reddit or Web Sleuths, but there is a Reddit stream of conscious about this guy, and some people have some missing cases of 3 black gentlemen that they really believe that it to be. I don't personally see a resemblance, and I know for one of them, they grew up and lived in Philly when they went missing, so that doesn't really seem like a match. But if you're interested and you want to dive further, go look for it. It's on Reddit, and obviously it's listed under the West Manchester John Doe because that's a township that he was found in. But John Doe is a black gentleman who was 5'3" to 5'10". I did see in Reddit that they said there was such a discrepancy with the height difference because I guess at one point on NamUs they had mentioned that not all his bones were found. So I guess maybe getting that height was a little bit difficult. But I went and looked and I didn't see that, but it had been updated a lot since that chat was started. So take that with a grain of salt. He is estimated to be a male in his mid-30s to 50s at the time of his discovery. So now that range would probably be 40s to 60s. He had a slender build and he was muscular. When he was discovered, his underwear was intact and on, and he was a size small. Apparently it was a well-named brand. I didn't write it down because I didn't think much of it at the time because when I think of brands, I'm thinking Hanes, but it was something that started with a K. So apparently that was a big detail. But he had a tiny frame. He also had a black leather jacket and purple mongoose sunglasses. At the time of death, he had a healed broken nose, like we mentioned, and a dental plate that was replacing a couple teeth. If you have any information regarding John Doe, please reach out to West Manchester Township Police at 717-792-9514. And please ask to speak with Sergeant Lance E. Kraut or Detective Sergeant Sean Conway.
Hey, it's Shan. Before we roll the outro, really quick, we just want to come on and say thank you guys so much. We've had some new listeners lately, and we're so glad you're here. Welcome. We do just want to let you know that we have started a YouTube channel. You can find us at Keystone Cold Cases on YouTube. If you can subscribe, we would appreciate it so much. We are so thankful for all of you because we are just a bunch of women who are passionate about this, and we take our personal time to do this. And we promise we're not trying to be millionaires because let me tell you, it doesn't work like that. We are just trying to have the podcast earn enough money to pay for the costs associated with having a podcast, having a website, needing storage space for all of our files, etc., etc. That's why we are letting you know so often about our Patreon and letting you know about other ways that you can support us, including following us on social media, our new YouTube channel, and sharing the podcast with your friends or family, and leaving us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really are just trying to, like I said, make enough money so that we can keep this going without us having to put money out of our personal funds. And if we're ever able to donate money to some of these causes that are so important to us, or to being able to identify missing people or remains. And we're just so happy you're here, and we appreciate you so much. We are also so excited to let you know that coming down the pike, we have some new things that we're going to be sharing with you guys. We're really excited to bring you more content and be with you a little bit more often every month, and we can't wait for you to see what we've got cooking. See you in the next episode.
That's all we have for this episode of Keystone Cold Cases podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please consider leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to find out more about the podcast, the host, and the cases we cover, or if you want to suggest a case, please visit us at kccpod.com or send us an email at keystonecoldcases@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at Keystone Cold Cases and on Instagram or TikTok at kccpod. Please remember never to reach out to family or friends of the victims, only to law enforcement if you have any tips. This episode was researched and hosted by me, Chelsea. Find all of our sources, social information, and contact information at KCCPod. Theme music by Darren Makins and production assistance from Shannon Bickle. Join us again next week for another case to sleuth out.